Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Die Hard Orchids. Today I am going to talk about orchid potting mix. Now there are several types of orchid potting mix that you can get that's already pre-made, but why do that? Why spend the money to go do that when you can pretty much make your own and it's going to be a lot cheaper. So for this episode of potting mix 101, I guess, I am going to make a special mix consisting of 3 items: the charcoal, orchid bark, and perlite. And this is going to be part of a series because I would like to experiment with other mixes too. There's ones that you can get that have like perlite in them, or they don't have the charcoal in them and it's just orchid mix and perlite, or there's leca. There's other kinds of mixes that you can do. So I think for this round, I'm just gonna stick to these ingredients because this is what I have right now. So let's get into it. I am going to talk about each one, and I'm going to mix them as we go. Now, the amounts of each one are going to vary depending on what I feel like. So also take that into consideration. You might need a little bit more charcoal, you might need a little bit more orchid bark, or you might need a little bit more perlite. So again, universal potting mix, but it's going to consist of these three items. So right here we have the Miracle-Gro orchid bark. Now, I am not sponsored by them. I would love to be sponsored by them because I use Miracle-Gro's products all the time for other gardening stuff and specifically for orchids. This is the go-to. But yeah, so this is a great mix to use. It is 100% all natural. It does have a little bit of nutrients already in it to kind of kickstart the fertilization process. And it's just a good, all well balanced orchid bark. So I believe it is a pine bark. Let me see here. I don't think it says what is. Yes, it is from processed forest products and fertilizer. It is softwood bark. So yeah, this is going to be pine wood, and it looks like it has been kind of decomposed a little bit, just to make it kind of a little bit more softer so that the roots can grab onto it easier. It does show you directions on how to use it on the back. Sorry, Miracle-Gro, I am going to completely disregard these instructions, and I'll show you why. So they show you the general kind of rules for potting stuff. Those general rules don't really work with orchids. They have to be a little bit more delicate. So that's pretty much what that is right there. Root loosen, it says here to select a pot with a drain hole. Yes, that is important. Fill the pot about 1/3 full. That's true depending on the size of the pot though. You can fill it anywhere between the 1/3 and the half and the 3/4 range. With orchids it's going to vary because of the size of the root ball. Orchids don't really have a classified root ball structure like you would get in regular plants because the orchid roots are kind of stiff and they kind of take a shape of whatever they're in. So orchid roots, when they grow out in the wild, they kind of spread out, and so it's not a ball shape. The only time it's in a ball is if it's in a pot. So there's a little bit of a tip there. Other than that though, generalized classification of root ball would be orchids that have been severely root bound. So a little gray area with the terminology there. Loosen root ball. With orchids, you don't really kind of want to do that because you'll damage them. If you loosen them, You can loosen them just a tiny bit, but you have to be very careful because they are stiff. At least the healthy roots that are alive. So you don't really want to mess up that root ball too much. And yeah, fill void between root ball and pot, leaving a 1/2 inch between soil surface and pot rim. Again, that's another gray area. Water and let drain. I don't water my plants right after I repot them, just because there is already a little bit of moisture in here. I water them the day after. That's with just my orchids though. With the other ones, I do water right after. But yeah, orchids, I don't. So let's open this bag up. I'm using light here, so I gotta kind of be quick. Yeah, this is already wet. This is already quite wet too. So I'm going to dump it into this Costco box that I have here. All of it. Because that is the base mix that I'm going to use for this. So all of it's going to go in there. Yeah, I believe I have everything out. Okay. This is going to go in recycling. I'm going to put it in the hat right now. Let me see how the light is going. The light's still pretty good. Okay. I try to brace against the sunlight here. Now, the perlite is the second ingredient. And this is to provide aeration and kind of hold water in a little bit because it will soak up some water. What else does it have here? Oh, perlite is a byproduct of a volcanic eruption. It's kind of like pumice, only it's a little bit lighter than pumice. So it is enriched with Miracle-Gro plant food. It does help prevent soil compaction, but that's in regular soil. You can use this with regular soil too. I am not an expert on that, and I'm not an expert on this either, so I shouldn't have even said that. But I'm going to mix it with this orchid bark. And let's see. Yeah, this orchid bark is really wet. Okay, what else? It has a bunch of instructions on the back here. This is growing plants from cuttings. I don't do that with this though. Let's add about half of it in here and see how I go. See how it looks when I add half. Okay, so the top is there, half is here. I don't have too much to talk about with perlite other than this volcanic byproduct. Okay. A little bit small. Now you can see what it looks like. That's what the perlite looks like. These fine grains of almost sand. I think I got this a little bit too fine, but it should be okay. So we'll see what happens. Now I'm just gonna mix this in. Yeah, I think half actually is maybe a little bit too much for this. Yeah, and I should have gotten perlite that was a little bit bigger in size. This might be a little bit too, granules might be a little bit too small, but we'll see. So right now, it looks pretty good. Yeah, there's a lot of fine particles in here. I'm not sure how this is gonna work, but we'll see. Right now it looks like I'm almost mixed with sand. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to add a lot of that to it, just that much. So this is going to go off to the side. The final ingredient is going to be this charcoal. This is just regular lump charcoal. Now you want to make sure that you get specifically this one, because this doesn't have any additives to it, or it doesn't have any chemicals to it as well. So, and you gotta make sure that it's the lump charcoal, because that, if you get the briquettes, those have the additives and stuff. This is all natural, all original, the most basic charcoal you can get. So I'm gonna add, charcoal is used for purification of water and also a little bit more nutrients. It acts as a little bit, it has a little bit more nutrients in it. I'm gonna get a few pieces and kind of break them up in this.